Welcome to the OAH training on common forms and pleadings. Let's start by talking about what documents you will receive when you are first assigned as a suitable representative. You will be sent a copy of the documents or audio recordings that OAH has in the case record. In many cases, that will include the referring agency's action that prompted your client's appeal. But in some cases, there will only be a copy of your client's appeal and a notice of hearing. In that instance, you will need to contact the referring agency's representative. As a note, you may want to use the notice of hearing when you are filling out forms. It contains the case information that you need. This module is intended to help orient you to the most common forms that you may use or see as a suitable representative. Agency authorization and consent forms, and forms on oh.wa.gov, including the notice of appearance, notice of hearing, pre-hearing order, exhibit list, witness list, initial order with an example petition for review, final order with an example request for reconsideration, and notice of withdrawal. When you are assigned a case, you will go to the OAH website page specific to that case. Every page has information, but not every caseload has forms. You will see some variation from caseload to caseload. To become familiar with forms, we will show you several different forms from different types of cases. There is a master list with all available forms on the Legal Research and Resources page. To access these forms, go to www.oh.wa.gov. In the Resources drop-down menu, select Legal Research and Resources. At the bottom of the page that will open, there is a master list of forms. The notice of appearance will be the first thing you will file when you are appointed as a suitable representative. This tells everyone to send you a copy of all future documents in the case. You must send your appearance to the Office of Administrative Hearings. In most cases, you must also send your appearance to all parties. The exception is in child support cases, and we will talk about those in a few minutes. In all other cases, you can find the list of parties, including representatives, and their addresses on the notice of hearing. There are several versions of a notice of appearance available on the OAH website for you to use. Some versions are for the most common case types, and some fields have already been filled out for you. The generic form may be used for any type of case. The generic form has an instruction sheet showing you how to complete the blank fields. And there are instructions on how to fill out the notice of appearance. So let's go to oh.wa.gov and let's go to the resources, Legal Research and Resources, right there. Down at the very bottom of this page, we have this master list of forms. I am going to open the notice of appearance with the instructions right here. So, in this particular example, in the top left corner, we have the case heading. Sometimes the case name is the other party, like the employer or a school district, but it's usually your client's name. Usually your client's role is called the appellant. In some case types, the notice of hearing will call your client the respondent, the parent, the wage claimant, or some other role. Again, just match what is shown on the notice of hearing. In the top right corner, you will fill in the docket number and the referring agency. For example, Department of Social and Health Services or Healthcare Authority. Remember that there are forms with this heading section already filled out for the most common types of cases. In this section, after the Office of Administrative Hearings, you will fill in the names of all other parties and representatives who are listed on the notice of hearing. Some exceptions are noted in the 2 footnotes right down here. In these instructions, if your client has a child support or a special education case, those are your exceptions. All right, back up here. In this paragraph, there are a few things to insert. Insert your name here and whether you're a his or a her. List your role. For example, if you're a representative, an attorney, or a triple LT. Next, right here, you insert your client's name and their role. This will usually match what you put in the header. In this last space, you will repeat your client's role. You will date and sign the form. You will print your name. Note that on all court documents, including appearances, you will see the bar number for attorneys and limited license legal technicians, triple LTs. If you have your number, great. If you don't need to put a number there. Add your street address and your P.O. box. Next is your city, state, and zip code. If you have one, go ahead and include a fax number. At the end, you will certify that you mailed this document. Add the date that you actually mailed it and the city where you mailed it from, and you sign your name here. Okay, back to our PowerPoint. All right, so the authorization forms. An authorization form gives permission for the referring agency to share information with you. The referring agencies each use different forms. Here are some links to some of the common ones used by DSHS and HCA. That's Department of Social and Health Services and Healthcare Authority. Your client will select the types of confidential information they are authorizing you to see, and they sign the form. By the way, don't forget that at the end of your training checklist, there is a PDF of this training with all of these hyperlinks for you. You may want to ask the referring agency representative on your case if they need an authorization form from your client. Notice of hearing. That's the next form that we will look at. This document is intended to show participants the basic information about their notice. The notice of hearing will always have instructions about how to participate in the hearing. Some hearings are in person, some are held over the phone, some have the judge call the parties on the phone, some have the parties call into a phone conference. A notice will tell you what the issue is for the hearing. Often, your client's request for hearing will be attached. At the end of the notice, you will see a list of participants and representatives. It will include their addresses. You will also find contact information for the Office of Administrative Hearings. If you are going to request a continuance or ask about rescheduling, that is the number you would call. There are several examples on our website. Let's take a look at the public assistance example. So right here, public assistance, notice of hearing. There we go. Okay. So in here, it just shows you with these bubbles what is on the notice. So for example, it tells you, is this a hearing or a pre-hearing conference? It shows you your docket number, your client ID, your client's client ID, the hearing. You have a lot of the details for the time, location. And if we scroll down, here's that contact information that we were talking about. All right, pre-hearing conferences. In some types of cases, the judge holds a pre-hearing telephone conference. The purpose is to clarify the issues for hearing or hear a motion. A motion is a request for the judge, a request to the judge for something a party wants resolved before the hearing. For example, you might ask the judge to order DSHS to continue your client's benefits until the hearing is over. Or the referring agency may ask the judge to dismiss your client's appeal because it was filed late. The information in a notice of pre-hearing conference is similar to the information we looked at in the notice of hearing. At the pre-hearing conference, the judge gives instructions on things to do before the actual hearing, such as when and how to submit documents. This is the time for you to talk about whether you need more documents from the referring agency. This is called discovery. The parties discuss the issues and how much time they will need for a hearing. It is typical to set the hearing date if you need a full day or more for hearing. Sometimes the judge hears motions at the pre-hearing conference. Other times they may schedule a motion hearing and dates for you to submit documents for or against the motion. The judge issues a pre-hearing order to summarize what was agreed on during the pre-hearing conference. Sometimes the pre-hearing order will include a notice of hearing, or motion hearing, with the date, time, and instructions on how to participate. This can be in a list called the case schedule. So let's take a peek at that. All right, I'm going to close the notice of hearing. I'm back to my master list. Let's peek at Washington Apple Health, and we are going to look at the pre-hearing conference order right here. So this example calls out important fields such as when things are due, what the hearing will cover. Let me go back up. The people who received the order, and this one also gives you some example forms for an exhibit list and a witness list. So I'm going to close this and go back to my forms. We also have an example of what the judge's order may look like. This particular example, let's look at the Healthcare Authority. And we are going to look at the, you know what, I'm just going to open it. Initial order for Healthcare Authority. There we go. So at the end of the judge's order, come on, work with me here. There we go. All right, the end of the judge's order is where you will find the appeal rights. If your client disagrees with the judge's decision, their appeal rights will depend on the case type. The instructions will be different for each case type. So please be sure to read the instructions carefully to help your client decide whether to file a petition for reconsideration with the judge or a petition for review to a higher authority. And there are strict deadlines for filing these petitions. So let's go back here. And let's look at a final order. You can find an example of the final order on our food assistance. Let me grab that one for you. Right here is our final order. There we go. So I'm going to scroll down to the very end. I'm going to go a little bit fast. All right. So you'll notice that the appeal rights are different at the end of this one. The training video on expectations and procedural rules has additional information about filing a petition for review or a request to reinstate. And you can also learn about the difference between an initial and a final order in the APA and model rules training. I'm going to go ahead and close those. Now, if you need to withdraw from the case, you will use the notice of withdrawal form. That is right down here. There are instructions and a template form right here on the OAH website. So these instructions will show you exactly what you need to fill out. Similar to the notice of appearance, you will send this form to OAH and to all parties and representatives. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. There we go. Thank you for taking this training. We encourage and appreciate feedback to improve any of the training videos and materials. Please send suggestions to the OAH ADA coordinator at OAH_ADA coordinator@oah.wa.gov. Thank you for participating, and we will see you in the next video.